Oh, it even gave me the Firestore security rules. I totally forgot about that, but this is very, very good. OpenAI O1 came out last week. There's been a lot of hype around it, very impressive benchmark results. And a lot of people are talking about how it compares to Claude 3.5 Sonnet and such, and whether it's actually able to replace real programmers, right? So I'm making this video today to put that to the test. So here I have a real example of a real app that I needed to make. So I work as a thesis student at the University of Sydney Nanoscience Hub. And basically we need to have a custom booking system. So there's bays, and then people need to select what equipment they are using, and then select the time slot and go to the bays and such. So as you can see, I wrote quite a long prompt to create the whole app from scratch, and I decided to let it use SvelteKit and Firebase because it's a stack I myself am very familiar with, so I'll be able to see what quality of code we're looking at. And also, if you notice, I use these XML tags. So if you follow the Anthropic use XML tags to structure your prompts, apparently this greatly boosts the quality of the responses you get. And if you check inside the code here, I also try to make these as as many good coding practices as possible. And so without further ado, let's give it a go. So if we go to the app here, select 3.5 Sonnet. I want to try both O1 Mini and O1 Preview because I think currently, it's 17th of September in 2024. The full O1 is not released yet, and apparently O1 Mini is better than O1 Preview. So this is quite a challenging app to make. And after it makes the app, I'll paste it into the code base here. And then we can see if it actually achieved what we wanted it to do. And we can go through each of the requirements one by one and see if it missed any. All right, so just check everything seems to be there, and send. Okay, so as you can see, the Claude is starting to generate, but O1 Preview, oh, it's actually faster than O1 Mini. Interesting. And O1 Mini is still thinking, so let's wait. Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's try Claude first, right? So if we read the instructions, as you can see in the app, we have variable scroll rate. So if a particular answer is longer, it scrolls faster. Here, Firebase off. Date FNS for date manipulation, and Tailwind CSS for styling. Okay, interesting. So if we scroll down, wow, this for O1 Mini answer is quite long. And this SvelteKit one is, this Claude one is very short. Okay, so that looks correct. It's correctly initialized the app and gotten the auth and the Firestore and the storage. And it's gotten an auth unsubscribe. So that's correct. So this allows the client side code to subscribe to the user, and it checks to so the user can only use the app whilst it's logged in, which is what I wanted. It did use Tailwind when, if you can see, as part of my instruction. Oh, oops, closed it. Yes, sorry, I accidentally closed my VS Code. or this particular code base. But if you can see from my instructions, I did say you may install the dependencies but keep it minimal. So Tailwind, it's okay. I can forgive it for using Tailwind, but it's actually not super ideal considering my instruction. And then here, so it checks all the bookings by querying this particular collection, and it shows all the bookings. And inside the timetable page, oh no, sorry, this is the auth page now. So here uses a Google Auth provider, has a sign in button, unclick sign in. Looks fairly correct. But as you can see, it actually didn't follow my full instruction because it doesn't, part of the requirement I had was the user must be able to see all the bookings they made in a timetable, right? So each location is a column, and on the rows there's the times, so people can see other people's bookings and not clash, right? So Claude did a pretty good job, but it's quite incomplete, and it introduced some dependencies like Tailwind, which I didn't really want. So overall, maybe, I don't know, out of 5, I give it a 2 or a 3. Like, this is saving me some work, but in this particular real world scenario where I need a full app from scratch, it really didn't adhere to the requirements as much as I wanted it to, and all the code it wrote is very scaffoldy. Like, it's not code that I couldn't have wrote myself fairly quickly, because if you refer to the specs, the really challenging part is really the form where they import the booking process and preventing, warning the user if there's going to be a clash, displaying a timetable. So all of these things, it really didn't do that well. And so, that's, I guess, the limitation of the 3.5 Claude model. It's still very limited in generating a very comprehensive code base based on my prompt. So here, let's have a read of O1 Mini. Scroll all the way back up. Looks a lot more promising. It's quite long, and it seems to have all the things I wanted and needed to have. So first of all, right off the bat, here it says install adapter static. That's already a very, very good sign, because interesting. Svelte at next. Is this using Svelte 5? Okay, let's investigate later. So right off the bat, this is very promising, because here, as you can see, it jumps straight into the code, but here it tells me to install these dependencies. And because it says adapter static, it's already very promising, right? Because we don't have a server-side rendering for this particular app, or we may not necessarily need server-side rendering in this particular app, or the backend is on Firebase, and the client just does some data displaying and data collecting. So if I was coding this, I would use adapter static, and that seems to be promising. Authentication. So it gave me the instructions of how to set up the Firebase console. Gave me a link. Very, very good. Looks correct at a glance. Okay, so app ID, storage bucket stuff. This, I'm not too sure is necessary. Let's keep reading. So it set up the SvelteKit adapter correctly. Yeah, looks good. The package.json. Yeah, so see, this is very good, right? Because it only has Svelte and Firebase, so minimal dependencies, just what I asked it to do. And gave this twice for some reason. Interesting. Oh yeah, this is not good. This is not the Firebase config. I mean, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but generally the Firebase config is not a secret or anything like that. If you want to have a client like a dev Firebase and a actual production Firebase, and have that depend on the environment, then you can do something like this. But this is not a secret. Like, this is just public information. So I mean, it's okay. It's not. It's definitely not bad. This is interesting. I'm not too sure if this is a good practice. Google Auth Provider. I normally just create this on the page with the login with Google button, but this is definitely not wrong. Just not my personal style. Okay, here. This is really good. So I specifically ask in my instruction to use reusable components where possible, right? And keep the code minimal and maintainable. And this does just that, right? Because it uses a navbar component, and yeah, so and it uses this particular user store. I'm not too sure that this is a good practice to put the user inside layout. Personally, I would just put it in a separate JavaScript file. But let's see. But so far, this is already way better than 3.5 Claude. Navigate. Sign up here. Okay, yeah, this is really good. So when you're signing in, it checks that the user doesn't already exist. And if it doesn't already exist, it will collect the user's name, right? So yeah, it will prompt to enter your name, and it will collect the user's name and save it inside a Firestore document that corresponds to that particular user, which is my requirement here. When the user first signs into the system, they must input their name, which is saved. So that's really good. Sign in with Google, nothing too crazy here. Again, really interesting. Even though it didn't say install Tailwind, it's using Tailwind, which is a little bit annoying in the sense that now I have this dependency that it didn't recognize. So that's definitely not good. But yeah, so just notice that the navbar overall looks good. Yep. Booking calendar. So a collection of bookings where the user equals the current user, and for each of these, it pushes it onto the booking array. It pushes all the bookings onto this array, and then it renders it using this booking calendar component. So already looking very promising. Let's have a look at the booking calendar. So for on mounts, it checks the okay, see, it has a dependency it didn't list at the top. So that's definitely not good. Take me some manual work to clean that up. But Day.js. But otherwise, it seems relatively correct. It seems to show the booking. Definitely usable. Not sure if it did the more complex requirements. After I review all the code, we can. After I review all the code, we can set it up. I'll set it up and report and show you guys what the actual code looks like. So here, amounts, add location. Yep, that looks really good. So one of my requirements was inside the lab, there's different bays, right? So you have to be able to add locations here. So, users must be able to create new locations and it should be booked. And the locations can be booked for the time slots. Now for the equipment, similar here. I think so far it's used the Firestore API very, very correctly, which is very promising. And it's even done some good coding practices like trim on the name, right? So there's no weird white spaces in front or back. And the booking form, okay, yeah, this is a big one. So it has a lot of variables. It has a lot of inputs that collects the information and puts it into the variables. It has a submit booking and prevent default. So yeah, bookings, create a booking. Yep, layout the server. Pre-rendering equals to false. I'm not sure about this. Oh, actually, it should be fine. I think, yeah. Okay. So here, cancel booking. Okay, this is very good. So one of my requirements was users cannot cancel a here, users may cancel a booking before the start time of the booking, but they cannot cancel it afterwards. So this is a very, very interesting requirement because it's actually security related, right? Because so far the app is just entirely, the backend is entirely Firebase and the front end is entirely JavaScript. But you need to actually securely disable booking cancellation for the clients and check it on the server side, right? So I really wanted to see if it just did some JavaScript check on the front end, which will work for normal users, but it's technically insecure because you can just send a request to cancel a booking yourself through JavaScript, right? So here, this is very, very good. So it uses Firebase admin. So to actually delete a booking, you need to do it through an admin account, not a client-side account. Oh, here. So Tailwind, install Tailwind. Oh, actually, never mind. It did it. So that's wonderful. It did install Tailwind. Okay, so and here it says ensure data security and secure. Oh, it even gave me the Firestore security rules. I totally forgot about that, but this is very, very good. And at first glance, it looks correct. And the allow delete checks that the delete time is less than the current time, which is very, very good. And npm run dev. Yep. I think the only thing it did in terms of dependency that was missing must be the day.js. Yeah. Overall, at a glance, this is already a 4 out of 5. It's scarily good. If I had to code this, it would have taken me at least a couple of days, and it just took us a couple of minutes. So yeah, interesting. So let's have a look at O1 preview. So it uses Svelte Material UI for the modern UI with a reusable component. So It doesn't use the tailwind approach. This one doesn't seem to be as good. It doesn't even tell me how to set up the Firebase in here. Here are the files. It's very similar to O1 Mini. Here is the same as O1 Mini. Here is just O1 Mini but slightly worse. Here it's... Okay, so this whole thing is just O1 Mini but slightly worse. So yeah, so that's probably a 2 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5. Let's check how much all of this costed. So inside here in the settings, I can check inside billing. So Lunarlink, they don't charge anything on top of the raw API cost, and all of the input and output counts are based on the official API. They don't do any dodgy account. We don't do any dodgy accounting. And used balance is you can calculate it yourself. So all we charge is 1 cent on top of every answer you receive. So in this particular case, it would have costed me 3 cents on top of however much the APIs costed. So again, to iterate, the API cost is at cost. We don't make any money from the API, just your usage, and each answer is 1 cent. And we price match. So here's the pricing table, and here are the links. So nothing dodgy going on here. Okay, so that's that, and I'll spend some time to set up the O1 Mini as per its instructions, and I'll show you guys the results. Okay, so I've executed all the instructions as per O1 Mini, and I've noted down some manual steps I've had to take to even get the code to run at all. So first thing to note, this is a relatively minor thing, but Firebase is now on version 10, not version 9. And also it introduced a lot of strange dependencies like Svelte preprocess, day.js, and it didn't include instructions to install these. So I removed Svelte preprocess as a dependency and installed day.js myself. It used navigate in the Svelte routing library for some reason, even though there's a native goto function inside SvelteKit. So I guess it probably would have still worked, but I strongly prefer to use the native SvelteKit function for better support. The auth rendering was completely incorrect. So if the user wasn't authenticated, they just see like a blank page. So I had to fix that. It's also missing security rules inside Firebase storage. So we probably have to reprompt to get that. And what we can do is here we can star this one. So now the model will now the chat will only remember this particular question answer pair. And then I can ask 3.5 Sonnet aside, can you write the Firebase storage security as well? Yeah, so if we just want a quick response, we can sort of continue on from the O1 Mini's chat and get the answer from 3.5 Sonnet. But I don't want to do too much re-prompting and back and forth for this video, because then it sort of defeats the whole purpose, right? Because our original question was, can O1 or Claude 3.5 or generative AI code a real-world app from scratch? And if I just keep prompting back and forth, then it's sort of, there's like an underlying assumption that whoever is using it already knows how to code such an app, right? So didn't do that. Not going to bother too much with that. So here also, it sent me to the wrong page after login. It sent me to a blank page after login, which was not good. Also, it hallucinated some exports. So it thinks there's a subscribe function that's exported from Svelte store, when the subscribe function is a member of like the writable or the readable and stuff like that. So it just hallucinated this out of nowhere. The user, it was trying to put it inside plus layout.felt, but it really should have been a separate JavaScript file. It was missing the booking page inside the nav bar, and also the equipments are not selectable. So here's the app. If we sign out and sign in with Google, yep, so sign in. See, it takes me to this for some reason. I go to dashboard, it has a table, it's okay, it's not the best thing in the world. And it didn't actually adhere to my requirement, right? So my requirement was have the locations in the columns and the times in the rows. But this just has the dates in the columns and the times in the rows, which is not what I wanted. And inside bookings, it has a basic form. This is actually not functional. And also the equipment, it's not usable for some reason. Also, it does have the upload image, which is good. Inside locations, for some reason I cannot add a location. If we come back here, it doesn't appear, and it's just sign out. So if we go back to the original specs, how many of these 14 functional requirements did it achieve? And I think realistically, it's more like 0, right? So nothing here is anything I couldn't have coded myself. Like, it takes a lot of work to fix wrong code. Whereas right now where I am is, if I need an app like this, I just code it from scratch, and it's certainly not at a quality where someone who doesn't know coding can just use it and copy and paste it. So I think that's the final verdict, right? So even on O1 Mini, the output is impressive. It is definitely an order of magnitude better than 3.5 Sonnet, right? It's able to at least give the scaffold for the app much better. But usability, unless you are already proficient in what you're trying to get it to do, it's definitely not for non-coders. And even for coders like myself at this stage, I don't really see too much of a point in using something like this, because like it's probably easier if I just do it myself. So anyway, hope you found the comparison interesting for 3.5 Sonnet and O1. And I guess, AI takeover is going to thankfully still take a bit more time before I'm homeless and out of a job. And if you like to support me, please check out this app I made. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.